Now, I've been to a lot of big cities and small towns and everything in between. And I have to say, of all the places I've been, there's very few cities and regions that I would consider to be just about perfect. There's some places in Colorado and North Carolina that I like a lot, but none of them are quite like Greenville, South Carolina. Actually, I might have to say that Greenville might be the best small town in the country right now. I'm sure people in Greenville might be like, damn it, some YouTuber with a bunch of subs just told everyone about us. There goes the neighborhood. Sorry, Greenville peeps, but it's true. I visited downtown Greenville during a southern road trip in late November of 2021. We're going to drive around downtown Greenville and talk about the good and the bad and what it's like living here. And we're also going to meet somebody who lives in the Greenville area to get his perspective on what it's like. It was a really pretty morning the day I took the drive, and I was quite impressed. And I think you will be, too. Greenville is such a place where everyone can be safe. It's a place near the hills with a lot of culture. Downtown looks like something from a movie. Go ahead, book a trip and maybe move here. You can bring everyone. Bring your kids and your dog. You can even bring your pop-pop. Pop, 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 pop. Everybody bring their pop, pop, pop. Pop, 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 pop. Everybody bring their pop. Greenville, South Carolina. Woo-wee! This place is special. Right now we're in downtown Greenville and it's early morning on a weekday. There's no hustle and bustle here though. That's because it's not a big city. There's only about 70,000 people here, but it's growing. We'll talk about that and why it's growing in a bit. Greenville's located in what South Carolina people call the upstate region. It's a part of the state that touches the North Carolina and Georgia borders. The whole upstate region is a pretty neat place, actually. Everything from Spartanburg in the east to Clemson in the west is one big, newish, safe, neat region. The whole population of upstate South Carolina is 1.3 million people. You could break the metro area up into three regions: Spartanburg, a neat college town that's home to the University of South Carolina, the Clemson-Anderson metro area that's home to Clemson, and the Greenville metro area, which has more than 700,000 people. Greenville's won a bunch of awards for being an awesome place to live. Forbes called it the South's most tasteful town. Another publication called it the most underrated travel destination in the nation once. And Money Magazine called it one of the best places to live in the country. Yahoo, CNN, and me were all saying it's super cool here. And my word means more than CNN's, right, people? But Greenville's growing fast. In fact, it might be growing too fast. That's my opinion, because right now it's the perfect size. A few years back, it was in the top 5 for fastest growing cities as a percentage of its population. There's a lot of room to grow, and Greenville's done a great job of managing its growth, apparently. The area used to be off the radar, but then BMW opened up a manufacturing center and tire company Michelin did the same. That jump-started a big growth phase, and other companies and jobs and people followed. Today, there's a lot of growth here, and there's even some tech companies moving into the region. Lockheed, 3M, and GE also have a presence. With all that growth comes change, though. Locals might say Greenville's getting too crowded and that the culture's changing. Greenville's managed to remain a very southern place, but it's slowly becoming more posh and cosmopolitan. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's happening. People from outside the region are diluting the southern vibe here. Cost of living wise, Greenville is a steal, people. It's far below the national average for a home. As of this writing, the average home price is pushing $260,000, but it's going up fast. South Carolina is in the top 5 for fastest growing states as people come for warm weather and low taxes. So for many people, they can experience the South without it costing a lot. And did I mention that Greenville's at the base of the Blue Ridge Mountains? 'Cause it is. As we'll see, downtown has a lot going on. There's plenty of bars and restaurants and shopping. There's also lots of artsy stuff, but it's not posh artsy, just regular artsy. There's events here all the time too. I like it at night the most. It's very safe. In fact, eerily quiet. Long alleyways are not daunting here. Folks just strolling around on clean sidewalks. No bums, no burnouts, no fuss. They have an ice skating rink downtown during the holidays. Ice skating outside is really cool if you haven't done it before. I don't know how they do it, keeping this ice frozen in the deep south, but apparently it can be done. The coolest part of downtown at night is Falls Park. There's a river that runs through downtown, and they make it look really cool here. There's even a waterfall right in the middle of downtown. Lots of people gather here and hang out all the time. Again, no bums, no tents, no BS. From the top of nearby rooftop hotels, you can see how cool Greenville really is. The whole region, actually. Upstate South Carolina, people. Seriously, Greenville might be one of the best small towns in the country. We hadn't ever been. We stopped on the way home from visiting our family on Thanksgiving. I was like blown away by how amazing Greenville was. I've been to a lot of places, and I kind of felt like I was like, this might be the best little small secret in the country.
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah, can you tell people a little bit about Greenville, like what makes it great and what it's all about?
First, I mean, the best thing is the people itself, obviously. People are super, super nice. Everybody's super friendly. And the food scene is spectacular. It's you can't go wrong. You can't miss on a meal, to be honest with you, unless you go to McDonald's or something, then you're gonna get that. But yeah, whatever you want. It's kind of not super, super culturally diverse, but there is some cultural diversity in the food. And the Southern food is spectacular. And you kind of get the best of both worlds. There's enough work here to keep you busy. There's enough jobs, enough industry to keep you busy, but you can just creep right up into the mountains and get away from everything if you need to. And you don't have to drive 2 or 3 hours. It's just a 30, 45-minute ride from Greenville, and you're out in the middle of nowhere, just hiking, waterfalls everywhere, lots of mountain biking, rock climbing. If you like that outdoor lifestyle, that's where it's at. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and the area, a lot of people aren't familiar with South Carolina. So it's the upstate area, which is right on the North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia border, right? How that's defined?
That's exactly right. It's called the upstate. In fact, in my backyard, you can see North Carolina at the top of the mountains. So we're right on the border there. We can drive 45 minutes that way and be in Georgia. So it's kind of, you have access. Atlanta's only 2.5 hours away. Charleston's about 3.5 hours. Asheville is only about an hour. Charlotte's 2.5. So you're pretty close to some bigger cities if you want to get there for the day. You can do a day trip. It's nice to shoot over to Asheville if you just want to kind of be a hippie for a day or drink some weird beers or something. But yeah, the location's really good, really central to a lot of different places.
Yeah, it's one of the last few areas that's not isolated, but also, it has like a cosmopolitan feel to downtown Charleston. Not as bougie as Charleston. I mean, downtown Greenville is not as bougie as Charleston, which is too bougie for me, too fancy. It is really cool to hang out down there, a little too snobby. But Greenville's cosmopolitan light, I think, up there in the upstate. It's really beautiful, man. It's clean. I didn't see any riffraff wandering around. It's just a really great place to be.
So we're from Charleston. We were there for 25 years, and we started coming to Greenville just for weekends. And the food scene is a mini Charleston. It is a very smaller version of Charleston culturally, but it has its own cultural flair as well. To your point, it's not as bougie. No one really cares what you're wearing or what restaurant you ate at or anything like that. It's just really about enjoying the area and the scene. So yeah, it's a pared down version of Charleston in a good way.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna probably upset people that live in the upstate when I talk about how great it is in a video, because they're gonna be like, oh no, there goes there's a few 100,000 people are gonna now know about it and it's gonna get too crowded. I mean, is that something that folks in your area are worried about, that the secret's gonna get out and it's gonna just get slammed with newcomers?
I don't think so. The area is big. I mean, it can take on some more growth, and it's been happening. We've been here 5 years, and we've seen it spread out in a slow but healthy manner. They're not just throwing things up. If you don't have something, we've seen with the businesses, something that's not sustainable, whether it's retail or a restaurant, and people, if you're not selling what people want, they're not going to go in there. So I think they're really careful about not just throwing a bunch of stuff up, not a bunch of big box things. And no, I think there's enough room for growth here that it would be okay. The industry business is pretty big, the automobile manufacturing. So I think, which really, from my perspective, living in Charleston, when we tried to get BMW down in Charleston when they were coming, and Greenville got it, and we knew that was kind of a big deal, and we didn't realize it was really put them on the map. It really gave us some financial stability and some really, really good jobs. And that, I think, kind of where, from my perspective, not being from here, from the outside looking in, that's where it really started to kind of grow financially.
What year was that when BMW came in?
I think they've been here for 20 years,
Okay.
pretty close to that. So it's been a while, and they got a great setup over there. So they create a lot of jobs.
And Michelin, it's the headquarters of Michelin too, right? Are they making tires or just doing corporate stuff there?
I don't know what they do exactly. We see a lot of cars. They'll have test cars driving through the mountains here, and they'll have
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool. So 6 F-150s all set up the same way, and they'll test dummies in the front seat. So what they're doing, I don't know exactly, but they're definitely out and about all the time.
Yeah, it's really neat. Are the folks moving down into the Greenville metro area the type of people that are going to change the culture, though? Because I know North Carolina has been diluted. It doesn't feel Southern here anymore. You got most of the people are from the Northeast or from the Midwest, even California. It doesn't feel Southern anymore, especially the Raleigh area. Charlotte does feel Southern still, but is that a concern? Are you starting to see it kind of the culture getting diluted by all the newcomers moving in there?
It's going to take a whole lot of people to dilute this place. It's a very strong culture. Clearly it would have some kind of impact here and there, but I think it's such a welcoming culture. I don't think people coming from other places like, the Northeast or wherever are really going to want to fight it. I think they're going to want to go with it. And, it's easy to get along with everybody here. And I can't imagine people coming down here and wanting to change that in any way. They might think, well, this is the way we do it here and this is the way we do it there. But I think they're going to learn pretty quick. That's not going to fly here so well. So I think, it's going to be a lot harder to do it here, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm. Well, how would you define or describe the culture in the upstate region up there by you, from the perspective of, if somebody's watching this, they might be thinking about moving in your way.
Yeah, it's just good, wholesome, hardworking, nice people. You genuinely, they care about each other. Not, no one seems to be out for themselves. It's just, you're not going to drive around and see a ton of, Mercedes and Porsches and, a bunch of bougie cars and bougie people walk around. There's some nice, even the people who do have some money up here, they just very low key. So I just think that the culture itself is endearing to other people because it is a strong Southern culture and the values are pretty conservative for the most part. There is a homeless population that you will see when you're driving around once you get out of the downtown area, but it's not overwhelming. They're not coming up to your cars trying to wash your windows. You can tell there probably some people who are down on their luck and trying to get back up on their feet. And there's some missions here that help take care of them. But generally, it's just a clean, nice area to live. And there's a lot of pride. There's a lot of pride in the upstate. And you can tell in the way they're growing their city. They're not trying to overdo it too fast. They're being thoughtful about it. So that's kind of my thought on it.
Yeah, people's ears are going to be perking up. Great, hardworking, honest conservatives with good values and low key and not a lot of riffraff. Sign me up. I tell you,
maybe what, don't post it, Nick. Don't post it.
No,
I need to rethink this.
When we got there, I was just immediately like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty in the hills, and then kind of drive around the whole upstate area, everything. From Easley to Spartanburg over to Clemson and that whole area, I didn't really see anything that I didn't like up there. It's just one big, giant, cool metro area with seems nice, new, modern, but not bougie. Just good people.
Yeah, you got some beautiful lakes up here too. And I think the number one or number two zip code in the state for income is, I think it's in Cleveland, but the lakes, Joe Cassie, I don't know if I've had a chance to see Lake Joe Cassie. It's unbelievable. It's the mountains coming down into the lake, clear, beautiful water. I think it's 11 waterfalls on that lake. You take your boat right up to the waterfall, hang out, swim around. Then you have Lake Kiowee, which is a lot more populated, and that's where kind of the money is in the area. So some really big lake houses out there. Some people have some money, but you're not gonna like no one's throwing it in your face. You're definitely not gonna see many Ferraris driving around. That's for sure. But the people have the money. They're just not throwing it out there like that.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I didn't get that vibe while walking around. I mean, it was the end of a road trip. I wasn't trying to impress anybody the way I was dressed. I normally don't care anyway. But yeah, it was pretty, but I got lucky. It was between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it was all lit up, with, lights, Christmas lights, and they had the ice rink downtown, and it felt very small town Americana right there.
Yeah, it is. It's perfect. That downtown area, they've grown it so nicely, especially like you said with the ice rink. They do everything. And it can still, 70 degrees the other day. Still, the ice rink was open. I don't know how they're doing it, but they'll have outdoor concerts in the summer that block off the streets. And it's not just like one area downtown. They'll have 2 or 3 different areas where they're having outdoor concerts and, people just enjoying themselves, pretty low key, just enjoyable space. And they've done a good job with it.
I have to imagine the cost of living's got to be getting, I mean, is it getting out of hand to the point that, it's pricing people out trying to come, or is it holding on? I can't imagine if it's not going up fast, it's that it won't soon.
I will say that just like across the rest of the United States right now, housing it's shot up, and there's going to be some affordable housing issues. But in the last year, I've seen a lot more single family homes going up in the area, way more construction than I would have ever thought, considering what's going on right now with the restraints, and and some nice houses going up. We've been driving past the same place for the past 5 years. In the last year, they put up 4 or 5 really nice houses on a couple of acres each, and I mean they're nice to look at. So the housing market is going up. It's going to have to balance itself out at some point in time, but it's still pretty affordable. I mean, you can get some acreage up here, and you can be by yourself if you want, or you can be in the downtown area. They got a lot more multifamily dwellings in the city itself they're putting up, but the stuff they're putting up is nice. It looks nice. It's well appointed, and it's pretty. I mean, for $300,000, you can get a single family house, new construction. It's pretty sweet. Not just a cookie cutter looking house. They're pretty good looking places.
Man, I tell you what, I honestly, I could sit down for an hour and probably come up with 5 other places in the country that I think I like as much as this, and maybe even 3. This is just too good to be true.
It's cool that you found it. I'm glad you came through and got a chance to check it out, because it's a great place. It's good. I think it'd be a good place our kids are out of the house, but to raise kids, or people that live up the hill from us, up top of the mountain, they raise their 3 boys here. And I mean, dirt bikes and 4-wheelers, and you hear a couple pistols popping off on the weekends, target shooting. So I think and they went to a good high school, has good ratings. They had sports. They kind of had the best of both worlds. Not out too rural where you can't be around other people, kind of doing your own thing, but you're close enough. So it's a good setup.
Yeah, good schools for the kids and lots of room for them to run around. There's got to be some bad though. Like what's a negative about the Greenville metro area besides the heat and the humidity in the summer? I know that could just be really bad for 4 months, right? I mean, but
I'll try to think of something. I would say, I'll tell you one thing, you don't want to be riding around on a moped around here, because they will take you out in about 2 seconds. Every morning a pedestrian or someone on a moped is getting whacked. I don't know what the deal is. I have a friend who told me that they have the #1 highest stats for pedestrian deaths up here. So
in the country,
I don't know, not in the country, in the state, but one of the higher in the country as well. It's like mind-boggling. I'm sure you could pull some numbers on it or something, and no one seems to even pay attention to it. Just another bum got run over, someone else on a moped. Every time I see a guy on a moped, I'm like, oh, you're on borrowed time, man. You are risking the biscuit on that one. But I would say, maybe if someone who's used to being in a bigger city didn't, the cultural diversity, you're not going to really get that here, especially if, there's a nice, go watch a play, you're not going to get the big shows coming through. You're going to get the B games. So if that's something you're interested in, you're going to have to drive to the bigger city for that kind of stuff. But you don't get the traffic either. It's one side of this Greenville has more of the traffic and the businesses and the stores, and it can get pretty congested in that way. I'd say it's probably the one negative thing I could think of off the top of my head, if you want to go to the big box, the Best Buys and the Targets and the Cabela's, there's an area of town where they just threw a bunch of stuff in there and they didn't do anything to the roads, and it's congested basically every time you go over there. So that can be, the Costco, it's a pain. So we try to avoid going over there, try to go off peak. But I would say that's probably, if I had to say anything about the area, that would probably be the one area. If you want any of that big box stuff, it's all congested into one space.
Mm-hmm. I think people put up with that little traffic on the weekends when they're running their errands to live up there.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's just a part of, being here. There's good jobs up here. People making decent money. So I don't think, you got to sit in traffic, to your point, on the weekend for a couple, an hour or so trying to get all your errands done. You'll be all right.
Mm-hmm. I think, is there tech moving in, or is it mostly like, what kind of jobs are there for folks that might have a, college degree that don't want to be, that aren't self-employed with, their own stuff?
Yeah, well, the automobile industry in general, throughout South Carolina, it's particular where it started in Greenville, there's a lot of jobs in that area. I'm not super up to speed on what jobs are coming in and what's happening, but it seems like every other day I turn on the news, some new company's opening a new shop here with 200 to 300, 400 employees that's going to get started. I just think a lot of big companies want to come here. Obviously, we have really good tax rates here. So I just spent some time up in Maine for a few months. We had moved up there, and I was just blown away by what we're paying in taxes. And I didn't appreciate what we had going on here until I had to start paying that. I knew what we were going to pay, and I saw it on paper, but we started writing the checks. It hurt. It was bad. So, we got back down here, and it's back to a normal tax rate, what I consider normal, obviously, which, I guess probably translates into schools a little bit. I'm sure there's some schools around here that could do a little bit better with some more income. So, just like any of the low tax-based states, you're not going to have the income for the schools. So that might be a secondary thing that would probably be someone would want to look at what area they're going to. Yeah, it is surprising how nice it is. And it's just getting nicer and nicer and nicer. They're doing a really good job of growing the city. They're not overdoing it too fast. So it's nice to see.
Yeah, that does not happen very often in this country anymore. So
no, they got something figured out here. So
yeah,
good for them. Yeah.
Chris, what's there to do in Greenville for a middle-aged guy like me?
Well, Mappy, you could chase your tail. You could go to the mountains, or you could go eat some doggy bones at a nice restaurant. It wouldn't cost you much, so I'm sure you'd have fun figuring out something.
Yeah, that sounds like fun, Mappy. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great! You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, while we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the U.S. a better place in a positive way.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.
And are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. You can get my email in the description to find out how I can help you find your perfect relocation. And I can also help you find your new house too. Email me and I'll work with you on not just helping you figure out where to move, but I can help you find your perfect home too. That's right, someone's a realtor now. Who wants to deal with a realtor they don't know when you can have me help you, right?